welcome to my channel, Amongst Outs. My name is Samantha and I am a new homeschooling mom of 4 kiddos. And in today's video, I have for you a book haul. And this book haul is from 2 different places. I purchased half of these books from Amazon and the other half I got from Thriftbooks.com. And so the ones that I ended up purchasing from Amazon, I only got them from there because they weren't available to purchase on Thriftbooks. Otherwise, I would have just done the one order. And so these books are specifically for the different weeks of history topics for classical conversations. And so what I did was I went online and I tried to find book lists that matched Cycle 3 history. And I was so lucky to find, and I can link the blog that I found, but I found a blogger who listed books that were living books. So they are more geared towards the Charlotte Mason approach to homeschool, which I really love because I really love the Charlotte Mason approach as well as the classical approach, which is why you'll see a mix of the two in my homeschool. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started into this book haul. I am actually going to start off with the books that I was able to purchase from Thriftbooks. And when I made the purchase, there were multiple of all of these available from them. So definitely if you're interested in finding some of these books on Thriftbooks that I got from there, you can go ahead and look on their website and hopefully they still have some of those still available. I got these all in random packages separately, so I don't have my sheet down here with me to tell you which books I got for which week. But you'll be able to see the theme of that week based off of these books. So I am just going to go through these books in the order that I have them here sitting next to me. And first is What Was the Battle of Gettysburg? And then I have The Story of a Pioneer Girl, Rachel's Journal. I have Exploration and Conquest, the Americas after Columbus, 1500 to 1620. And then I have All About America, the Industrial Revolution. Coming to America, the Story of Immigration. The New Americans, Colonial Times, 1620 to 1689. If Your Name Was Changed at Ellis Island. I have Gettysburg. And if you guys notice here, I have a couple, so like this is the second Gettysburg book or book on Gettysburg. And I might have one more. I am not exactly sure. But what I did was, for any of the topics, if there were chapter books available, I got either 1 or 2, either for my oldest son or for him and my oldest daughter to be able to read independently. And then that will allow us to also, for me to read to my youngest daughter some of the smaller books, but also so that we can get in more books over the course of this school year, so that we're not getting all of our reading in. Some of them will be independent readers, and some are going to be read alouds. And then I got A is for Abigail, an Almanac of Amazing American Women. I got A Time for Kids Biographies, Theodore Roosevelt, the Adventurous President. Who was Robert E. Lee? Just a Few Words, Mr. Lincoln, the Story of the Gettysburg Address. I won't lie, sometimes I remember learning about many of these people and I could probably not tell you a lot of their history because I didn't enjoy history growing up. Doing it from a textbook, it was literally the worst subject to me. I hated going to it. I didn't like it. And now that I'm older and I've been reading a lot of books on history, a lot of fictional stories or, stories based on people who experienced it and who lived through it that are geared for adults. I've been reading a lot of that sort of material. And so my heart for history has just grown. And I think, honestly, that's why I haven't gotten a history curriculum. And we'll talk more about that at the end. But the other book that I have is The Other Side. I got A Weed is a Flower, The Life of George Washington Carver. Daily Life in a Covered Wagon. And then I got We the People, The Story of Our Constitution. And so that is all of the books that I was able to find on Thriftbooks for many of the weeks of classical conversations. So now let's get into the books that I needed to purchase from Amazon that matched up with some of the weeks of classical conversations. So first I have What Was the Boston Tea Party? What is the Declaration of Independence? The Story of George Washington. And honestly, guys, look up a lot of these books because I ended up finding and getting this one on Kindle for $1 or $2. I can't remember. So it's nice whenever I can find the books on Kindle because then two of my kids can read them at the same time instead of one reading it and then, the next one will read it afterward. I can assign it to both of them the same week or the same days. The Story of Abraham Lincoln. And my kids don't mind reading from a Kindle. They don't do it very often, but if necessary, they'll do it and they don't mind it. The Long Way to a New Land. Francis Scott Key's Star-Spangled Banner. Who Was Davy Crockett? I got Meet Abraham Lincoln. What Was Pearl Harbor? What Was the Lewis and Clark Expedition? Who Was Ulysses S. Grant? Who Was Theodore Roosevelt? The Trail of Tears. From Slave to Soldier. And Meet George Washington. And then I got The Town That Fooled the British, a War of 1812 story. Where Poppies Grow, a World War I companion. How We Crossed the West, The Adventures of Lewis and Clark. Freedom on the Menu, The Greensboro Sit-ins. And then we actually already read this because we are in week 2 now of classical conversation. So we did read these already, but I wanted to go ahead and show you. I also got from Amazon Columbus Day. And Where Do You Think You're Going, Christopher Columbus? There's that. And so I will say Columbus Day these days isn't celebrated everywhere. It wasn't celebrated in Colorado where we just moved to Texas from. My husband and I both grew up and were born and raised in Texas. And so going to school, we both celebrated Columbus Day here in Texas. When we lived in Colorado, like I said, they don't celebrate it there, and so my kids didn't. But when we came back to Texas and my kids were in public school, halfway through the year last year, part of that was Columbus Day, and it is actually still celebrated here in Texas. So we went ahead and read this, and I will also go ahead and note that both of these books, if you're looking for something to read to your kids about Columbus that isn't holding him up on a pedestal and like making him this heroic person, but teaching your kids the facts of Columbus, what he did, both good and bad, I definitely recommend this, but if your kids are a little bit younger, this is a really good one because it talks about who he is, what he did, and why there is/was a day that we celebrated for him. And I think I can't remember, but I think it also mentions that it's not celebrated everywhere. And so then this one is extremely factual. If you have kids that are about 8 and up, I would recommend you reading it first before assigning it to them, or maybe even reading it aloud to them so that you can answer their questions about the things that may pop up. But very good for factual Columbus. So the last 3 that I got are first, the National Geographic, Remember Pearl Harbor, American and Japanese survivors tell their stories. And I really love that this includes both Americans and Japanese. Because I really, really want my kids to be able to have well-rounded perspectives and to learn from both sides of everything. And so then I got the DKI Witness, Civil War. Witness the war that turned a nation against itself, from the brutal battles to its legendary commanders. And then last but not least, I got the National Geographic, Remember the Alamo, Texians, Tejanos, and Mexicans tell their stories. And there's that. And I will say, guys, I am so excited about this book. I recently did, sometime last year, I did a ancestry DNA test. And from that, it connects you to all of your bloodline that have already done the DNA sample test. And so all of my family on there that I know that I've done it, that I know who they are, popped up. But then you get to see people that are, in your bloodline that you've never met before. And it's really cool whenever the story, whenever you backtrack and try to figure out where do you begin? Where does your bloodline begin? And so my mom's dad, my grandpa, my mom's dad passed away when she was 2. So she doesn't know him. So obviously I don't know him. So it was really cool to find out that his family was they are 100% native to this Texas land. And so obviously it wasn't, United States, Texas, whenever they had it, it was a part of Mexico, it was, but they are indigenous peoples to this Texas land. I can't remember off the top of my head what the tribe is called, but I do have all of the information on that so that my kids and I can start researching it. But that I thought was just really, really cool because in, growing up in Texas and learning about the Alamo, in school, you don't learn about the Mexicans. You don't learn, not all of the Mexicans. There's a very select few that they'll tell you about. But I hope that this opens up a door for not only my kids, but for me to learn more about the Mexicans in Texas. And, that opens up more doors to learning about my bloodline with my grandpa's side of the family. And I do know some, because my grandma's still alive, we do know some about her family and the things but she's more Spanish. And so there was even this thing with my grandma's family with her marrying my grandpa because he's Mexican and she's Spanish. And if you know anything about that whole thing, there was issues. But anyways, that is it for this book haul. And there was something that I wanted to tell you guys about. Oh, so curriculum. If you've watched any of my curriculum videos, you know that I don't actually have a history curriculum. I considered back and forth using the Mystery of History, but we never started it. I don't intend on starting it because we decided to go with American history because we enrolled into classical conversations. And so with that said, I just want to say, guys, if you have books, you don't have to purchase them. Get a library card. I would have totally used the library card, but it's just inconvenient for me where I live. It just makes more sense to buy them, even if I can get them used on Thriftbooks. It makes more sense, and it actually, in the end, saves me on time and money because I have to drive around for a library. So, back to the curriculum. I don't have a history curriculum. I think that what works for me and my kids is going to be learning from books, learning from, people who have told these stories and authors have written it out for them, people who wrote journals and now they're published. Like learning through other people's experiences and what they lived through during those times, in learning from them in these books is going to be incredibly beneficial to us, because then we're getting so many different perspectives. Like we have 3 different books on Gettysburg, a couple of books on Abraham Lincoln. So these aren't written all from a single person in a history textbook. All of these books are written by different people. All of these books are, I mean, there's diversity in these books. I don't have any books that are just about one culture, or I don't have any books that are just like one skin tone or from one perspective. They're all from different perspectives. They're all written by different people. And so we're going to be, that's well-rounded learning. And I just think that that is going to be what ends up working best for us. So as we go on through these cycles in classical conversations, I think that I will just continue buying new books as my kids up their level. And so I don't even know, when we go into next year, what that history is, because I'm brand new to classical conversations. But I think that regardless of whether it's U.S. history, world history, ancient history, whatever it is, it's going to be more beneficial to me and my kids, and the way that we learn and the way that we are doing things in our homeschool, how they're shaping out to be, is to be through books, living books. More of that Charlotte Mason approach, rather than a big history textbook from one perspective. So that is this book haul, and I hope you guys enjoyed a little, or understand a little bit more of why I have chosen to buy all of these books versus a single history textbook curriculum. So if you guys like these videos, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I love having you guys as a part of my community and meeting you here and on Instagram. So don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.